Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to talk to you about the ways that I got into hockey myself, as well as ways that you could get, let's say, your friends, your family, your partner, or your children into hockey themselves. Quick disclaimer, this is not a guarantee it'll work, it's just a suggestion, suggestions that I'll be posing to you about that. So the first thing I can say about, to get into hockey myself was 1996, when I first watched the Mighty Ducks film, which was filmed in 1993, of course, and released in 1993, I should say. And back in 1996, obviously, ice hockey was not on the BBC after a year or two, and then popped up on cable television in the UK. And basically, anytime the Winter Olympics was on, of course, the BBC had the rights to the whole Winter Olympics, which had the highlights of obviously every international hockey game. Now, obviously, I've watched several hockey games over the years on television, but not as many live in the arena. But many things are different, of course. The atmosphere is completely different from you watching from the television to being at the hockey arena itself. Now, obviously, the one thing I could suggest with regards to other things you could watch, let's say you're a fan of a team, an NHL team, and let's say your history knowledge isn't that great, you could watch, let's say, Stanley Cup final videos that basically feature your team, whether they've won or lost. Like this, for example, the Stanley Cup champions 2019, which is the St. Louis Blues winning it. And of course, we still have more from 2014, 15, 16, 17. And the Kings, the Blackhawks, and the Penguins twice won those cups. And obviously you can watch those. And obviously YouTube has tons of different hockey games, which could be the Stadium Series, the Winter Classics, or any of the specialty games that are out there, of course. And including any regular season games, or even global series, or even pre-season games that were basically across the world, or even just down at the arena. Now, in regards to going to hockey, my suggestions would be to, if you've never been to the arena, obviously find 3 or 4 different routes to take that will basically not encounter traffic, but obviously use the usual common sense of basically thinking, yep, there's going to be rush hour at this time of the day around this area. So obviously plan ahead, always, and just make sure everything's done. And obviously buy tickets before you go, and obviously select whichever way you want it, the electronic ticket or a proper ticket that you get through the post, which would be nice. Obviously just double check everything before you go, and make sure if you're going by yourself, don't worry, there are plenty of people that are friendly to wherever you're going, but obviously just do the usual thing and just make sure you safely get there and go home after the game. But obviously if you don't live in the same city you're going to a game to, I would suggest staying in a hotel or guest house, which is safe and in a safe area. Not too bad, is it, really? But other ways you can get into hockey itself is not just by watching it or get from the arena or television. You could buy, obviously, other merchandise, for example. So the one thing that kids in England do is obviously buy sticker packets for their favourite soccer player or football player. The Premier League. The Premier League obviously is so big in England, obviously it's expanded across the world in terms of television rights, that obviously it's the biggest football league in the world. Behind, unfortunately, the NFL. But anyway. So you could get cards, obviously, for basically the NHL, the AHL, whichever league you can get them for. But Upper Deck have the monopoly on hockey over in America and Canada. So, for example, you could get cards like an MVP Upper Deck hockey pack. Basically, buy that. It'll just be basic cards, cheaper price. Have silver script cards and other fancy cards that you would see, and that is pretty much good to start kids off with. Obviously, you can get stickers from Topps, which may turn into Fanatics next week with everything going on. But obviously, you can, if you're more of my age, or probably in between 18 and 32, soon to be 33, I You can obviously get cards for your favourite player, or just buy the big hobby packs yourself. And obviously, my favourite player, of course, is Kevin Shattenkirk, who plays these days for the Ducks, which now, unfortunately, he will not be playing any longer at the time of this recording, possibly. But he may do. You just don't know if he signs a new deal yet. But we'll see what the Ducks will go with. And of course, you can buy different players, and that's Joey Keane for some reason. Doesn't play for us anymore. Obviously, Shattenkirk, you can get different cards which are numbered. There may be just like a shiny card like this. Will have a number on the back out of whatever it says. You can get patch cards, which will say like congratulations, you received a trading card with a piece of memorabilia, patch, whatever. And of course, you can get ones like these, like signed patch cards, which come out of very expensive boxes. Which is this one's Upper Deck, the Cup Hockey, and they retail for about $1,200 these days, which is a lot of money for cards that don't really have a resale value that much, unless they're big players like Sidney Crosby, for example. But again, you can obviously, one thing you could do to reduce the cost is, let's say you have friends who participate in the hockey card world, is join a break. What I mean by that is basically someone will buy a hobby box of that particular product, and then say, right, either you want this team, you pay this much, which includes the postage and all the top loaders and sleeves, and I send it to you. Obviously, they'll charge you a premium if you live abroad, if that's necessary, unless they state they don't. Also, you could join a break which will give you a random team, for example. Let's say you are a fan of the New York Rangers, but then they'll just randomise in whichever way they do, and you end up with the Buffalo Sabres, or possibly even worse, the New York Islanders. Ugh. Anyway, but that's another thing. Regards to trading cards as well, obviously just check your local retailers to see if they have the product you want. If they don't, my suggestion is you could, if you live outside the US and Canada, you could get a PO box. One of those PO boxes in America or Canada, which you could it's PO box or whatever it is. Over there, or get a friend, for example, who lives over there, to say to them, look, I want to buy this product, could I send this to your house? If they say no problem, and then just give them a bit extra to then send it to you wherever you live in the world, and obviously be happy with that. Other things you could collect, of course, pucks. Of course, this is what players are trying to knock into the back of the nets. Of course, you can get them unsigned. Obviously, been used in the practices. They've been used in the game. But obviously, with the game ones, you will see literally a masking tape with obviously who's scored it and when. And obviously, you can get them signed as well by your favourite player for whichever team you support. This one's a Kevin Shattenkirk puck. So basically, there are many, many ways of getting into hockey itself. Other ways you can get into hockey, obviously, with regards to merchandise, is of course a jersey. Now, there are so many different ways of getting jerseys. It's very easy. So you could buy a replica jersey for your favourite team, or if you're a jersey collector, just buy every team you like or don't like. Just depends on how you feel. Obviously, you could get game ones like this one behind me, which is the Ottawa Senators 3D jersey from 2019-20, which was worn by Tyler Ennis in the 2019-20 season, before obviously the pandemic shut that down for a bit. And obviously, you can get the team issued ones, which basically don't have a name and number on it, just blank backs, but they're just made of the same material that game worn one is. Or you could get a replica and have it signed by your favourite player, possibly. And this is a Kevin Shattenkirk one, and of course he's signed the back of it. But obviously, signed jerseys are a bit more, but sometimes the jerseys may be on for a bit less than you think. And these game-worn jerseys can go for a lot of money if the player is one of the best. If they're one of those players that have been solid but good, might be worth a little less, but they might appreciate it a bit later in life. But you just never know. And obviously, that's one thing you could do. Other things you could collect, of course, mini sticks. Again, these are pretty inexpensive. You could have them hanging on your wall, stuck on your wall. Just depends on how you feel. You can have them signed as well by your favourite player or the team as well. But again, you could also collect game used sticks by the player. Some countries you can sponsor them, sponsor the actual sticks actually, as well as the jerseys themselves on the known and loan system, which we have here, which is pretty good. Some countries do it, some don't. Just depends on obviously what the league likes as well. Companies can also sponsor them too, personally, and all that stuff as usual. And of course, you could sponsor their gloves. Obviously, collect their gloves as well once they finish using them. Pretty much any part of what they wear, basically, you can get them sponsored if you can see it, and then buy it. But it may not be worth much. But hey, it's collectibles. What else do you expect? You could also collect mini Zambonis, for example, or hockey figures. Some of them can be inexpensive. You can collect Funko Pops, which are a fun thing to do. A friend of mine, he collects so many jerseys and Funko Pops. I can't believe he's got room in his own house to store anything. But then again, that's life. If you're a jersey collector, you could complement your jersey purchase with a hat, for example. So you could get one for your local team, perhaps, one for your favourite NHL team, or probably another league somewhere in the world. So again, your choice is your choice. It's life. But then again, you could walk around town every day, go to your favourite local coffee shop, and let's say have a cup of hot Joe in your favourite coffee cup. This is obviously a stadium series, New York, which features the New York Rangers, the New York Islanders, and of course those New Jersey Devils, which we have to play, unfortunately, tomorrow night. So no fun there. Obviously, other things you could collect, with regards to hockey, you could collect programs, pocket schedules, tickets if your team still does physical tickets. Of course, pretty much any kind of merchandise. You could get seasonal merchandise like Santa hats, jumpers, pullovers, or whatever you call them, suit jackets. There is so many bits of merchandise you can get as a hockey fan. It's unbelievable. You can get your phone case. If you have an iPhone, for example, you can have a phone case with your favourite team on it. You can have them customised. There is so many endless ways to get into hockey and then be a collector in certain ways. But obviously, if you can't afford to collect things but still afford to go to a hockey game, that's fine. That's your choice. I'm just suggesting things you could do. But obviously, the one thing I would suggest is just listening to the people that you've tried converting, because they may not like it. Obviously, you've got to explain what happens in a game and why did they do that. Why do people collect this? Why do people collect that? Why do we like these people? Not aimed at any group at all, but it's one of them things. You just have to explain things sometimes. If you keep having to explain things, with regards to hockey and that's fine, because then if they can understand the game better, that's all good. But if you having to explain things and they're not getting it, try explaining it a different way. That's one thing I would suggest. But just always look for an alternative explanation as well, just in case. But if you can relate to that person, basically, you're speaking to in a different way to then help them understand the game a bit better. Let's say using a different sports analogy or a different analogy in life to explain what's happened on the ice just then because someone's punched someone in the face, or the ref has decided to basically throw someone out of the game just for talking back to them. Again, hockey is a fun sport, but it is a brutal sport, let's not be said, because even if you play rec hockey, there's sometimes someone's going to hit you in the face just because you hit them in the correct manner without effectively punching them in the face. But again, it's your choice what you do. So that's me done for the day, and unfortunately it's getting darker in England, which means there's only one certainty in life. When you live in England, when it gets darker and it's only 4, 3, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it's going to rain. That is unless daylight saving time has gone wrong. See you guys in the next video.